Do you feel bad for Chris Beard today?
No. How can you? I mean...
Okay. Do you feel bad for Texas Tech?
No, they won. They may have the better coach. I don't know. I don't feel bad for any of them, man. I like, and then for Texas Tech, I mean, like, are they embarrassed? Is that what you're asking? Like, is it a bad look?
Dude, I'm not asking that because I can promise you one thing. They feel no remorse for how they treated Chris Beard upon his return to Lubbock. They don't give a shit. They hate that man. And for anybody who doesn't understand, because I know there's a lot of people who are saying there's no place for that, act with some class, this and that. Okay, whatever. This is college athletics. You can't have it both ways. You can't laud college athletics for how passionate fans are and also try to legislate how they choose to act. You have to understand how all of those schools in Texas feel about the University of Texas, and it's a disdain that really doesn't have a good comparison anywhere else in the country.
Before Beard went to Texas Tech and Red Raiders everywhere hated UT. He's just gas on the fire. It's not like, oh, this is a new thing and it's just come out of nowhere. No, it's deep rooted, and whether he intended to or not, he contributed to the feelings there and had to deal with them.
If you ever leave for a rival video series, a Kansas-based video series, expect a similar reaction from me the next time we see each other. So you've been warned.
I'm on a huge bus, just one guy, and my uncle's driving because I can't find anybody else to drive, and there you are.
And I'm standing out there, double birds.
Yeah.
Letting you know how I feel. Exactly right.
Good to know, because there are some rival video podcasts out there right now. And, you know, I haven't been wooed per se.
Sounds like that may not be completely honest. Sounds like you may be giving me the same runaround Beard gave Tech. Remember, it's not about the fact that you left. It's about how you're leaving, and you're already off to a terrible start. This is Basketball Friends. He is Matt Tate. I am Nick Schwerdt. Joe Yesufu had his best game in a Kansas uniform on Tuesday night versus Iowa State. 7 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals. When KU brought him in this past offseason, he was not seen as an end-all to their problems, but he was seen as being a part of the solution, because the end of his career, the last 5 weeks he had in Drake, averaging over 23 points per game. He was shooting 47% from 3. He was one of the best players in the country the last month of last season. There's an obvious point to make about the competition. He was doing this in the Missouri Valley, but the combination of volume and efficiency was enough for the Kansas coaching staff to be interested. And mind you, at the beginning of that breakout he had, he wasn't even starting for them. He was the 6th man who only became a starter because of an injury, and from there, he took the opportunity and ran with it. You fast forward to this season, it's been a tough go for him. He has found himself sort of as the odd man out of the guard rotation, behind Juan Harris, behind Remy Martin, behind even guys like Jalen Coleman-Lands and Bobby Pettiford at times. Well, now he's being presented with another opportunity. No Remy Martin on Tuesday, no Ochai Agbaji. Coleman-Lands, Bobby Pettiford struggled. He comes in and provides a lot of what KU brought him in to do. Quickness, athleticism, playmaking from that guard spot. Bill Self acknowledged after the game that he needs to play more. And he said some things about this in the past, about several other players where, I know I need to be playing this guy more. You fast forward to the next game, and that guy is right back on the bench where he was before that. So my question for you is, do you see a path for Yesufu to carve out a more consistent role in KU's rotation?
It's going to be hard. I mean, if you get Ochai back, when you get Ochai back, and if you get Remy back healthy, it's just hard to find that there. I mean, the only way I see it being easier than it might seem is because of the similarities between him and Remy Martin, right? Like quick, electric, speed, things like that. And so maybe Remy never gets fully healthy, but he gets back to where he can play enough. And instead of wanting to play him 28, 30, 32 minutes, you just keep him at that 18 to 20 and you give Joe 15 to 20 as well.
Is that the competition though? Is that it? Is it effectively in your mind Remy versus Joe?
They're similar in the way that they're both quick and can affect things with their speed and that kind of thing. But Joe can defend and showed that against Iowa State and likes doing that. And defense has never been Remy's thing, right? And so it's not as simple as just like one or the other because of that. I mean, they're not apples to apples. The Pettiford thing's interesting, right? Pettiford's gotten a lot of looks and he's been hurt too, of course. But if I were breaking it down like that, like you're saying, it's probably those two, right? Like one of them will get a chance to be in the rotation moving forward. The other probably won't.
Well, because the reason why I ask you is that the one guy we can sort of remove from this conversation is Juan Harris. If we're just talking about the guard rotation, because at least I fall victim of this, of lumping all the guards together as if they're all competing with each other for minutes, but that's not entirely true. We know Bill Self wants to play two guards. Not all guards play the same way. Juan Harris is this team's point guard. It's been funny to me the way that I think a lot of people have tried to make it a Remy Martin versus Juan Harris thing. That's not the case because Remy Martin's not a point guard. He is a guard, he is a scoring guard, but he's never going to be the guy who Bill Self trusts to run this offense. He can have a role aside from Juan Harris, but he's never going to take Juan Harris's role. So that's why I separate Juan Harris from this, and to me it's more about not just Remy Martin, who, I mean, there's been a huge discrepancy in minutes between those two guys, but also Jalen Coleman-Lands and Bobby Pettiford, because those are guys we've seen Bill Self and this coaching staff try to play alongside Juan. But it's always going to be what your role is. You're never going to take over for Juan. It's going to be how can you fit in alongside this guy who is going to be our initiator of offense. How can you play off him and also play around the fact that if you want to carve out a role on Kansas, you're also going to have to play alongside Ochai and Christian Brown, who you're never going to usurp in the pecking order of offensive options for this team.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I mean, it's about that. It's about finding a role. Jalen Coleman-Lands may never play consistently double-figure minutes, right? He may never, but he's definitely a guy who could find that role that says, if somebody's playing zone and we need me to go in and shoot, I'll shoot. And if that means 5 minutes to get him out of the zone, I'll play those 5 minutes. I think for all of these guys, it has to be more about what do I do best? How can I clearly and effectively define what I am and what my role is? And then how many minutes does that give me? And sometimes, like last night, because of a couple of fluky situations where Remy's shut down for a little while and Ochai's out with COVID, that means there's 23 minutes out there for Joe. But sometimes that's not going to be the case. And that's where I worry about getting too excited about the Joe Yesufu world, because it's just like, he played almost the entire second half and he just got to go and run and play and not think and react and just play on instinct. That's probably not going to happen very often the rest of the way. He's going to get 2 minutes here, 3 minutes there, and it's hard to get loose. It's hard to feel flow. It's hard to get into a rhythm. And so I don't know that, anybody's expectations should be massive. I think what the expectations can be, though, out of that is all of a sudden the depth has returned, and it maybe looks like this team does have some pieces that you can actually use, because for the last month, with Clements hurt and Pettiford hurt and KJ still waiting to find his footing and Remy hurt and Joe not even playing in, half of the Big 12 games or whatever, there's been no bench.
I mean, you just listed like 5 guys off the bench, which we know by the time the tournament starts, they are not all going to be playing for this team.
Right. And so there was no bench, but you do have to have a bench. You have to. Now they at least know that it's there, right? It doesn't mean they have to use it every game. If Juan's going to play 38 minutes because he's cooking like he was the other night, and Ochai's going to do what he does, and Jalen and Christian and Dave are going to do what they do, it's just not going to be a lot of minutes because you want to ride with your guys. But if any of those guys find foul trouble, if any of those guys find, just off nights or need a break or whatever it is, now, because of what happened at Iowa State, you look at those guys, even Jalen Coleman-Lands, who wasn't terrific, but he was early. You found out that, look, there's a couple of guys there that could actually step in and do this. And so confidence grows both for them individually, but also for this team collectively. It is quite possibly the best thing that could have happened to this team.
Iowa State didn't play particularly well. They looked sort of a step slow offensively. They missed a lot of open jumpers. So I agree with you, though, in that felt like a turning point game, not because Iowa State is some sort of juggernaut and KU had no business winning that game, but more so because they were able to go up to Ames without your national player of the year candidate, and nobody tried to play hero ball.
Right.
Nobody was trying to win the game by themselves. That was as good as Kansas has moved the ball in a single game this season. It was unselfish. Think about this, Matt. They shot 56% from the field. That's their third highest mark of the season. The first two came against Tarleton State and Missouri. two bad teams, and both those games were inside Allen Fieldhouse. So to have, and on a night where you turn the ball over 16 times in the first half, to have one of your most efficient shooting games of the season on the road in what we know is a very hostile environment, that's a testament to what you just said, that Kansas went in, played unselfishly, everybody played their role, and executed it to a T. But the defense is still the part of this team that has to get better if they're going to go from being a fringe top 10 team to one of the legitimate national championship contenders. The personnel is the personnel. You can't change that whatsoever. But as it pertains to Yesufu and that being the quote-unquote Joe Yesufu game, if he's going to carve out a role, how much does defense play a role into him getting more playing time and maybe usurping guys like Jalen Coleman-Lands and Bobby Pettiford?
If he can defend, it's true with every player that's ever come through Kansas in 19 years under Bill Self. If you can play defense, you'll be on the floor. Doesn't mean you'll play 38 minutes, but it means you'll play. And so Joe now has a little confidence. It's a big Saturday for him, man, because he's going to get a crack at Baylor. If he can follow that performance at Iowa State up with another good game against Baylor, he's in the rotation just like that. It's just too important. The defensive part of that, as you said, is just too important.
Does that guy who chased after Self back at the
Melvin Weatherwax?
Yeah,
that guy.
Is he still there? Is he still at Hilton?
I would imagine. I haven't seen him in a couple years though. I used to do a pregame video. Well, a few years back, I did it at Iowa State. Scott Chasen was filming it for me. We finished it up. He said, dude, you got to look at that video. So I watched it. And my guy, Melvin Weatherwax, was like standing behind me in the videos. I can't remember. We sold that. I think it was like $97,000 or $98,000 that video brought in. It was pretty good.
Well, congratulations to you. And let's cheers to Melvin Weatherwax after KU gets a win in Ames.
I'm sure he had a wonderful night.